We're here at the Credit Union National Association's Governmental Affairs Conference, where we caught up with Democratic Congressman John Larson of the House Ways and Means Committee.
I said in my remarks that I credit David Camp from our committee for returning to regular order and looking at reforms that will uncouple a lot of the burdens that people are strapped with, not only credit unions but all across the country. But unfortunately, that appears to be going nowhere. And I said, look, we ought to be able to respond in a timely manner to things like making sure that extenders are put in place, and for businesses and people that are counting on this and counting at least on certainty in what is a very uncertain climate at this particular time. But the uncoupling of regulatory burdens and making sure, again, too, that we're protecting the interests that have been hard fought for, and understandable that community bankers and others that are concerned that credit unions might have an unfair advantage are not looking at the full picture and are not looking at the service and what's been provided. And as I noted out there in my remarks, during this recession, when other institutions were not lending and were provided, people could still go to that haven called a credit union and get the mortgage, get the loan that they needed, and whether it was a college education, an automobile, or a mortgage, those remain very, very important conduits for America.
How about the tax exemption for credit unions once the Ways and Means Committee releases their draft?
That's in good shape. Yeah, that's in good shape. In the draft, that's okay. But this is a draft, and would it be that this was a final draft? So as I said out there again, vigilance is eternal in terms of making sure that people get their message here on Capitol Hill. It's a good message. It's a great story to talk about, and I think when people see it in that context, and it's nothing against community bankers, I understand their position. They serve a vital role and function too, but to go after the credit unions on this, I think it's a little more than a little unfair, but it's good to be here and tell your story.
And like you said, it is a draft, but ultimately when tax reform comes down the pike, it's ready to be voted on. Would you support a package that includes the credit union, taxing credit unions, or are you committed to protecting the exemption?
We're committed to protecting the exemption, because that's the whole emphasis, the whole issue with respect to the formulation of credit unions and why they've been so successful in the communities. And they are far different in terms of their ability to raise capital like the private sector is. So there are fine distinctions to be made, and there's a rationale for why these things came about in the first place, and I think credit unions are on solid ground.
In Washington, I'm Nicholas Palissy, Credit Union Times.